Hello, would like to welcome everybody to today's information session on the Diploma of Nursing at TAFE. Before we begin today's session, I'd just like to share an acknowledgement of country. TAFE acknowledges the Palawa people as the traditional owners and current custodians of the lands where we work and live. We celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands, seas, waterways and the skies of Lutruwita. We pay our respects to our ancestors past, elders present, and the Tasmanian Aboriginal community today. I'll just go over some general housekeeping before we get into the course information. So as you can see on the screen here, you don't need a camera or a microphone to participate today. You'll be able to see the slides and hear us present over the top of those. If you do need to access closed captions, please click on the CC icon in the bottom right-hand corner. You're more than welcome to submit your questions through the Q&A panel, but we'll actually make a time at the end of the presentation to go through those. So you may well find that we'll answer some of those questions as we progress through the presentation. You can choose to remain anonymous if you would like, or you can share your details with us. And if you can't stay with us until the end of today's session, or if you'd like to hear some of the information again, this webinar is being recorded and it'll be published on our website within 24 hours of the session. So why would you choose to be an enrolled nurse? The Diploma of Nursing offered at TAFE is the qualification that you need in order to become an enrolled nurse anywhere in Australia. In Tasmania, enrolled nurses are a really key component of our healthcare sector, and in fact the intent is to grow the enrolled nurse role across many areas of our healthcare sector. So you could be working in hospitals across the various wards. Outside of a hospital environment, you might work in a general practice or in an aged care facility or out in the community. So there's a great range of opportunities once you've got your qualification and have applied for your registration for you to take a career in really whichever direction you might like to go. Many of our students choose to pursue going into a registered nurse role, so you could go to a university to enrol in a Bachelor of Registered Nursing, and you generally would get some credit towards that if you've completed the enrolled nursing program. So enrolled nurses generally work in collaboration with other members of the healthcare team and report to a registered nurse in many environments, or doctors or other practitioners. And as I've mentioned, it's the same qualification for all of Australia. So once you've completed your diploma, you really do have the flexibility to take that wherever you might like to go. For semester 2 in 2026, we'll be offering two different delivery modes for intakes. So the first one that we're having a look at now is our 2-year program, and we'll be offering this one in our Clarence campus and also at our Allenvale campus. So you can see on the screen here exactly the same format for both of those. They'll be commencing on the 20th of July 2026, and that goes right through until the 14th of July 2028. So for our 2-year program, it follows the format of 1 day a week on campus, which for this intake will be Wednesdays. You then have 1 day a week online, which is structured tutorials live with a teacher through Zoom. And then you also have structured learning in Canvas to work through. So there's the details for our 2-year program. The other program that we're offering is our 18-month program. So this one is starting a little bit later, starting on the 20th of October, but you can see that it also finishes a bit earlier on the 24th of March in 2028. So for our 18-month program, it's all the same content as our 2-year program, but you just have more contact hours, so you move through the content quicker. So the structure for that one is that you have 2 days on campus per week, which will be Mondays and Thursdays in all regions. You'll then have 2 days online, which will be Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then you'll still have the structured learning to work through in Canvas, and we recommend allocating approximately 24 hours a week to work through the required content. At TAFE, we're really fortunate to have fantastic simulated learning environments, which really reflect the environments that you'll be working in once you're qualified as an enrolled nurse. So just to reiterate, we have campuses at Allan Vale, Clarence and Devonport. The 2-year program is only being offered in Allan Vale and Clarence, and our 18-month program will be offered at Allan Vale, Clarence and Devonport. So in all of these campuses, you can see that we have a simulated clinical environment, and from the moment you step through the doors, you're expected to treat this like a workplace, and learning in these simulated environments will help you prepare to go out on your work placements, as also get you ready for the job ahead of you as an enrolled nurse. So let's start having a look at what studying the Diploma of Nursing would really look like at TAFE. A bit of information about the structure of the course first. So there are 25 units of competency. These are made up of 20 core units, compulsory units, and 5 elective units, which have been chosen by industry. So successful completion of all of these units and a minimum requirement of 400 hours of clinical placement allows you to apply for your registration as an enrolled nurse through the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia. So just to reiterate that TAFE does not issue this registration. On successful completion of the course and gaining your qualification, you will then apply through the Nursing Board to receive that registration. We've just provided a website down there if you'd like to pop on and have a bit more look about the registration information and requirements. We'll take a quick look now at what it's like to study the Diploma of Nursing with TAFE. So up on our screen now is what we like to call our roadmap to success, which just goes over the key components of the course. So as I briefly outlined when we spoke about the timetable, there's really 3 key components to the program, and that is your online facilitated tutorials, which we conduct through Zoom. They are your on-campus simulation training days, and Canvas, which is integral to all of the course. So Canvas is not just the place where you have your structured and directed learning, it is where your timetable is stored. We use the calendar there to populate a study timetable for you. So you'll see the information about what readings and assignments you need to do, what you'll be doing on campus for that week, and it's also where we provide you the links to your tutorials. So it's really integral to the whole program, driven through campus. So it's really those 3 things. And then for the actual program, we've separated it out into 3 really distinct phases. And each of these phases is getting you ready for the placement, which will occur at the end of the phase. So we'll just have a quick look at that now. So here is an overview of the 3 phases of learning. So regardless of whether you're in the 2-year program or the 18-month program, this format is the same. So phase 1 is where we lay the foundations, and you'll do some underpinning units around communication and legal and ethical standards of being a nurse. And we'll also start introducing some content about anatomy and physiology, and you'll start looking at the primary health areas and mental health. At the end of phase 1, you'll do a 2-week placement, and that will be in either a community mental health or primary health facility. On successful completion of phase 1, you'll move into phase 2. So this is where you start developing your clinical competence. So the key focus for phase 2 is continuing on your learning about anatomy and physiology. You'll start to learn about medications, chronic health, doing client assessments, and you'll start looking at the older person, disability and palliative care. At the conclusion of phase 2, you'll attend a 3-week placement in a residential aged care environment. On successful completion of all of the requirements for phase 2, you'll then move into the 3rd and final phase, which is where you consolidate your clinical competence. So this phase is really directed at an acute environment, and you'll start looking at acute and chronic care, including specialised units in diabetes and managing personal stress. At the conclusion of phase 3, you'll attend a 6-week placement in an acute care environment. And on the successful completion of all of the phase 3 requirements, you'll then receive your qualification as an enrolled nurse. We'll just look at some of the specific requirements for placement now. As I've mentioned, there are 3 separate placements that you must attend throughout the program. It's important that you know that placement is compulsory and it does involve working full-time hours. In order to complete your qualification, you must have achieved a minimum of 400 hours of placement, and you also need to meet this requirement in order to apply for your registration to work as an enrolled nurse. So I've just got a recap of those different placements on the screen now. Just to let you know, placements are not paid. However, there is a new program available through the Commonwealth Government for placement payments. So that is run separately to TAFE. However, we will provide you some information about that particular scheme, and you can check to see whether you're eligible to apply for that. Just also like to point out that placement can be anywhere in Tasmania, so don't expect to be allocated to the region where you live. You may need to go onto a placement outside of your local area, but we'll provide you with that information closer to the date. So whilst we're talking about the placement component of the program, we'll just have a quick look at some of the placement requirements. So these are in addition to the entry requirements for the program. Obviously, you're going out to work in healthcare environments, so you have to abide by their policies and procedures around immunisation. So we've got some information there about the recommendation for immunisation for healthcare workers, and we'll work with you moving up to your placement about the exact requirements for each environment that you're going into. You'll also need a Working with Vulnerable People card and a national police check, which is no older than 12 months at the time of your placement. So whilst that is also an entry requirement for the program, you'll need to get a new one of those as you progress through the course, so that when you're heading out onto placement, it is no older than 12 months. So you need to complete all of these requirements before you're allowed to attend placement. We have a dedicated placement team which supports the nursing program, and they will work with you about the placement requirements and how placement will work for each part of the program. To help you to be prepared for the commitment that you'll need to make to the program, I'll just quickly run through the scheduled dates for the placements for both the 2-year program and the 18-month program. So for the 2-year program, you can see that your first placement will be during February 2027, and then your second placement will be in September through to October 2027, and your third and final placement will be in June of 2028. Then just looking at the dates for the 18-month program, your first placement will be during March of 2027. Your second placement will be between July and August of 2027, and your third and final placement will be in February of 2028. So by now you would have realised that there's quite a few technological requirements that you need to successfully participate in our program. The main one of these is access to a computer or a decent sized tablet like a Surface Pro or an iPad, not a phone, to get through your course content. You need a really good internet connection so that you can participate, particularly in the Zooms for tutorials, and you also need a microphone and a camera so that you can actively participate in your tutorial sessions. When you're on campus, we expect that you behave in a manner that is fit for the workplace, and you also need to wear your logo TAFE scrubs while you're in our simulation areas. So you don't need to get those to commence the course. We'll provide you with all the information you need on your first day, and you don't need them for at least a couple of weeks into the program. But you also wear those when you go out on placement. Whilst in the simulation areas, you also need to wear closed-toe, non-slip shoes, preferably in black. And just to revisit some of those workplace requirements that we've already covered, you can just see those on the slide there now as well. So while we're looking at course expectations, I'd just like to take a moment to go through the inherent requirements for the Diploma of Nursing. So the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia has set the required standards expected of enrolled nurses. The core standards are the minimum standards that are applicable across a diverse practice settings in healthcare environments. There are inherent requirements for nursing professionals, and it's important that potential learners who are considering working as a nurse have knowledge of these. This will enable satisfactory course completion and the ability to work safely as a nurse in practice settings in healthcare environments. So on the screen in front of you at the moment, I've just got some of the key inherent requirements of the program. And part of the entry process will actually get you to go through a self-assessment in scoring yourself against these inherent requirements. The purpose of that is not to preclude you from the course, it's just for you to have a really good look about what it means to be a nurse and what it's going to be like to study in preparation of being a nurse, and making sure that you feel that you can meet or work towards meeting these requirements. So as you progress through your study, obviously we need to assess your competency to see if you're meeting the requirements of being a nurse and the requirements of the training we provide. So there's a couple of different ways that we will assess you. They are written submissions, which is all in Canvas. So they might look like a short answer question or writing an episode of practice. We also assess you in simulation, where we have realistic scenarios that you'll need to work through to demonstrate the skills that you've acquired through the simulation training. And then when you're on your work placements, you'll have specific objectives that you need to meet and assignments that you'll need to complete whilst you're in that particular environment. So there are essential assessment tasks that must be completed and deemed successful before you're allowed to go out into the workplace environment, and the tasks that you have to do in the workplace environment must be successfully completed before you can move into the next phase of the program. Okay, so hopefully after listening to all of that information, you would like to know how to apply for the course. So we're just going to take a moment now to work through the course entry requirements and the application process, just to explain how those requirements work and at what time you'll need to meet which requirements. So essentially, you need to meet all of the requirements on the screen in front of me at the moment, which is you must be 18 by the time the course commences. You must complete a literacy and numeracy review, which I'll cover in a second. You complete an informed choices self-assessment. You need to participate in a course conversation with one of our nursing team. You need to provide a national police check, and you need to provide evidence of your English language proficiency. So we'll just go through all of these in a bit more detail now. So applications will open for the nursing program on Monday the 25th of May at 12 p.m. midday. So at that time you could pop onto the TAFE website, type nursing into the search function, and on the nursing page when you scroll down you'll see the different offerings which are available, so the different courses that we've spoken about earlier, and you can select apply now against your preferred program to enrol into. So whilst that's a week away, there's a couple of things that you could be doing now to help that process run really smoothly for you. So you could pop onto the apply and enroll page on the TAFE website. There's lots of information there that talks you through the whole process, regardless of what program you're applying for. If you haven't got a TAFE student account already, it would be a great idea to pop on and set that up now. If you do already have a TAFE student account, now's a great time to check that you can log into that and make sure that all of your personal details are up to date, especially your email address. Email is the key way that we communicate with you throughout the application process. And if you have made an application and haven't heard from us, please also check your junk mail in case we've landed in there. So if you haven't done that already, pop onto that part of the website and get yourself familiar with the student account and the application process. Okay, so let's now look through the entry process in the order that it'll happen. So once you've hit the apply button, you'll receive some communication from our admissions team. And the first step in the process is completing the literacy and numeracy skills review. Obviously, I mentioned that you have to be 18 by time of enrolment, will check your birth date, and if that's not the case, you won't be able to proceed with your enrolment. But if it is the case that you will be 18, this is the step that you will go on to. So the literacy and numeracy skills review is to make sure that you've got the appropriate literacy and numeracy skills to be working at a diploma level, and the tool that we use to assess this is the BKSB. So you'll be sent a link out to that and be set up with a login, and you'll need to go through the two assessments, which is the literacy and the numeracy assessments. You'll be able to do this at home. You need to allow 30 to 60 minutes for each of the sections, so make sure you've got some time set aside, you've got a quiet space to do that. You can use a calculator for the numeracy section, so just really take your time, make sure you read the questions correctly and work your way through that assessment. And what you need to achieve is an exit level 3, working level 4 in order to progress your application in the Diploma of Nursing. If you receive a level lower than that, unfortunately, we will have to close your application for this time around, but you might be able to look at some of the other courses that are available or some of our foundation skills to help get those skills up ready to apply for next time. If you do achieve exit level 3 and working level 4, then you will move on to the next stage of the process. So once you've successfully completed the appropriate level in the BKSB, the next step in the process is to complete an informed choices self-assessment. So again, we will send you out a link to do this. It's an online form, much like a survey. The purpose of this is to really make sure that this is the right program for you. The form will run you through the key requirements of the program and also the key requirements for the attributes of being a nurse. It'll talk through your ability to meet the attendance requirements, how much study time you're available for each week, and just really to help you think about, are you going to be able to meet all of the requirements of the course? Is it the right time for you to be undertaking this kind of study right now? So the purpose of this tool is not to exclude you at all. It's just really to make sure that you're fully aware of all of the requirements and to have a really good think about how you're going to meet those requirements, and it might make you think about some things that you need to put in place in order to successfully study, or it may make you think, well, this is actually not for me right now. So just the best thing you can do is to work through this and just answer as honestly as possibly. As I said, it's not to exclude you from the process, it's just to make sure that you're fully aware of all of the requirements, so that you can make an informed choice about whether you want to progress your enrolment or not. The answers that you provide to us will form part of a course conversation that I'll talk about in a little while, but it's just really important that you do this so that you can assess whether this is the right time for you to be undertaking this program. The next two entry requirements that I'll cover is the National Police Check and the English Language Proficiency. So these two items really could be done at any stage during the application process, but you must have them uploaded before you move to the final stage, which is the course conversation. So I've just got a little screenshot there of the entry tab from the nursing page on the TASTAFE website. So all the information you need about our entry process is there, and there's also some links there to some documents. So for your national police check, you can provide a police check that is up to 3 years old, but it must be the right police check. So when you apply for one, you need to select option 1, Schedule 1, and that will provide a full detailed check that we need to make sure that there's no offences in there that might preclude you from enrolling in the program or going out on placement. So if you have any questions about that, just get in contact with us. If there's something on your police check that you're concerned about, just ring us at any time and we can have a look at that with you to check to see whether that will be okay to progress your application. The other item that you need to address is the English language proficiency. So this is separate to the BKSB literacy assessment. This is a nursing board requirement. So if you have completed your schooling in an English speaking country, then there's just a stat deck that you can sign, and there's a link to that on the website that I'm showing you here now. You can just complete that TASTAFE statutory declaration and upload that into your student portal. However, if you weren't educated in an English speaking country, you may need to do a formal English language test. So we've got a document there under the entry tab that says English Standard Requirement document. If you're not sure which category you fit into, please pop onto the website and have a look at that document, and it gives you some really specific details about which countries we will recognise education in and the requirements in case you do need to do a formal English language test. So as I said, you could do these at any time and get them uploaded into your student portal, or you may have access to those documents right now. If that's the case, then you could get them uploaded now as well. All of the evidence that you submitted part of your application process does need to be certified by a Commissioner of Declaration though, so please make sure that you do that. So a Commissioner of Declaration is generally anyone who works in a pharmacy or a post office and a lot of the government roles. And we do have some on our campuses as well. So if you're not sure who you can get to sign that document, again, just contact us and we can give you some advice there. Okay, so now we're up to the last step in our entry process, and this is a course conversation. So this is an opportunity for you to meet with one of the members of the nursing team and just talk through the requirements of the course. It's a one-on-one conversation, and we can do this either via Zoom or in person, and they will be 15-minute appointments. So once you've uploaded all of your required documentation, we will send you out a link to our booking system, and you can go on there and select the campus that's applicable for you and choose a day and a time that suits you best to book in for your course conversation. As part of this conversation, the teacher that meets with you will have a look through your informed choices self-assessment, and if there's anything there that they feel needs discussing, they'll bring that up with you. Likewise, if you've got any specific questions, or you might have some concerns about something on your police check or anything at all, this is your opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with one of our teaching staff to go through anything that's specifically related to your situation, and to get some information again to make sure that this is the right program for you and the right time, and to ask any of those questions that you might have. If you have provided your documentation, your police check and your English language proficiency, but hadn't been able to get those documents certified yet, you could bring those, the original copies in with you if you're coming in for face-to-face, and all of our nursing teachers are able to sign off those documents as a Commissioner of Declaration. So that's another option there for you as well. Okay, so you've got through all of your entry requirements. So we'll just have a look at the course fees and any associated fees. So this particular program meets the requirements for vet student loans. So if you haven't heard of that one before, it's a Commonwealth Government scheme similar to HELP or HECS for the university, where you can actually defer your fees and take out a loan with the government for the program. So as part of the application process, you will be prompted through some questions about vet student loans to see whether you're eligible. If you are eligible, you don't have to take up the scheme. You can certainly still just pay your fees directly to us, whatever's going to suit you best. As part of that, if you do choose to go for the vet student loan option, you will be asked for proof of citizenship if you weren't born in Australia. If you were born here, you need either your passport or a birth certificate. So just be aware that that is outside of the course entry requirements. However, if you want to apply for a vet student loan, you will be asked for those documents. So you can see the course fee on the screen in front of you there. Basically, that will be broken down into components throughout the duration of your program. It will be divided in half for the 2 years of the program, and then within each year it'll be broken down in 2 quarters. There'll be 8 components to your fees over the 2 years. So just so that you're aware of that. In addition to those fees, we do need you to have a uniform, which we've spoken about previously. So you don't need to get your uniform before you start. We'll go through that with you in your induction, but just so you're aware, that one is around $80 to $90. Once you're enrolled with us, you do have the opportunity to request credit for study of units that you have completed at other training organisations. So these need to exactly match the units of competency provided in the Diploma of Nursing, but we do find that lots of students come to us who have already completed some nationally recognised training, and they do have some of the units which they can get credit for. So if you'd like to see the list of units, you can pop onto the website and just click on the units drop-down box, and you can have a look to see if any of those units are something which you've successfully completed either with us or with another organisation. And then the easiest way for us to be able to see any units that you've done, particularly at another organisation, is to give TAFE authorisation to your USI records. So for all training organisations, you have to have an USI to study, and this is where your outcomes are stored. So I've just got up on the screen for you the steps that you can follow in order to give our TAFE admissions team access to your USI records if you're wanting to apply for credit for some units that you've completed with another training organisation. So if you just follow along those prompts there, the highlighted section in the first diagram, and then you move to setting up your account permissions, and then you can add TAFE, and I've got the organisation code and the name on the screen there for you. And once you've done that successfully, it should look like the third diagram that we've got on display there. So that is the easiest way that you can provide access for us to see any units that you've completed elsewhere. And in some cases, that has the ability to reduce your fees for the course that you're enrolling in. So just thought we would share that with you today. So to finish off our session today, I just want to run through some of the support options that we have available at TAFE. One of these is Study Start. So that's a program that runs, particularly if it's been a while since you've studied, just to get you back into the swing of study, and also looking at the different types of programs that we use here at TAFE. So I've just got the dates and the areas that that's available for on the screen for you at the moment. So just have a look at that, and if that's something that you think might help, then you can pop on and enroll in that one. Just pop onto the TAFE website and type in Study Start. Once you're enrolled with us, we also have our foundation skills services. So these are a wide range of support services to students once they're studying at TAFE. So have a look through the slide there, and you can see the different types of things that they can support you with. It's just really important to know that once you're enrolled with us, that you do have this support. And so if you are struggling with your study at any time, you can reach out and organise either a one-on-one or a group session to get support in any of these topics, so that you can succeed in your studies with us. TAFE also has a wide range of student support services that are available to you. You could access those services now if you needed some help with the application process, or of course while you're enrolled with us, these services are available to support you. So all across TAFE and all of our campuses, we have student counsellors, disability liaison officers, and Aboriginal support officers. So they're all available to you, and if you'd like to make an appointment to see one of these support staff, you could call our contact centre on 1300 655 307, or if you pop onto the TAFE website and click on the study support section, you can book yourself an appointment from there. So a really wide range of support services available, and just feel free to reach out if you think that you need any of those supports. Right, so that's an end to our formal presentation. We'll now have a look at some of the questions that have come through. Shirley and Hayley, have you got the questions there? Shirley, I think you might be on mute. Sorry?
I was on mute. I'm sorry about that. All questions that have come through currently have been answered. There's been a couple about the BKSB. Now, the BKSB will be able to be done at home once we send you out the link. And that's basically the main ones that we've been getting. The BKSB test. If you are required to do, to provide your English standard, if you haven't done your schooling in Australia, please refer your inquiry to our nursing email box, which is nursing@tafe.tas.edu.au as per the screen, or call our information service centre because it's easier to speak with one-on-one for that particular query. And the others, Diploma of Nursing, if you go for your RN, it's currently a 12-month credit. International students, if you are an international student, please contact our international team by calling the Information Service Centre and they'll be able to put you through. Then you'll be able to discuss costs, etc. for that. That's, hang on, we've got one more. That one, a new post up the top. There will be a course starting early next year and that information will be available around about October. For February. Is the study start online? Andrea, are you able to answer that one for us?
Yeah, I believe that it is, but we don't run that particular program. So if you're interested, as I said, just pop on to the TasTafe website and pop Study Start into the search and that'll have all of the information you need for that particular program.
Okay. We have another one about going on placement. Can you pick your placement? No, unfortunately not. We do have a work placement team that do allocate the places for placement. You can always discuss that with our coordinator, but normally it's within location of where you live. Will there be semester breaks? Yes, we do have semester breaks. We try and timetable our study through the same holidays as the education department. Can you apply for the 18-month course and 2-year course?
Yes, I think is the short answer to that one. But if you do that, there's an option within your application where you can set preferences and we will need to know what is your first preference for that and we'll progress your application in the one that you put on the first preference in the first instance. So yes, you can, but you need to make it clear to us which one is your preferred option.
Yes, please do that. Students do not need to apply to upload a resume. We don't need a resume for your application, for the application process. If you're living in, you can apply for the 2-year course in Launceston. However, if you found the travelling too much, there's not a guarantee. We can't guarantee that we would move you back to Devonport because of the different courses because of the 18-month course that is running there. And just to confirm, there is an 18-month course starting. No, there won't be an 18-month course in February next year.
Well, next year's courses haven't been confirmed yet, but as Shirley said before, we'll have another info week around October and we'll explain what's going to be available then.
Yeah. If you miss a Zoom tutorial, the tutorials are recorded. However, you are expected to attend, but they do, like if you're sick or something like that, then you will be able to catch up by listening to the recording. Anybody who is asking about the English standard requirements, please send that information to the email on screen and we'll be able to answer that via that way because everybody is different in that area.
Yeah, and just again, the information is on the website, and there's a quite in-depth fact sheet about the English language standard, which does clearly identify which countries we can recognise learning from and which tests you need to do. So have a look at that first, and then if you still have a question, then feel free to send it through to us to double check.
There's just some more questions coming in regards to placement, and if you have children, etc., to take that into consideration. We are only allocated a certain amount of placements in facilities around Tasmania, and so we need to accept them for you to be able to continue with the course. So that means we try and get you a placement in your area, but sometimes that's not possible, and you could get a placement anywhere in Tasmania. We just can't guarantee. We need to allocate people to the placements we're given. So you do need to be aware that there is a chance that the placements that you're given will not be in the region that you live in for all three. You might get one in your region or two in your region, but that you may be asked to travel for your placement. Do we follow the updated APRA for the language test? Yes, we do.
Excellent. Well, we might wrap up now. As you can see, we've still got that email address up on the screen as well as the contact phone number. So if you have a question that hasn't been answered, or if you think of something after the session, this is the best way to make contact with us, particularly if you want to speak to someone directly in nursing. You can email your inquiries through to that nursing@tafe.tas.edu.au, and we can work through those queries with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Some very valuable information there. Just to reiterate, the session will be available on the website within the next few hours. So feel free to go back and watch anything if there's any information you believe you missed. And just to reiterate, you can send any questions through to that email address at nursing@tafe. Thank you for attending, everyone, and have a lovely day.